everyone, my name's Stonesy Boy and welcome back to Five Nights at Freddy's Tales of the Pizza Plex #1 Lallys Game by Scott Cawthon, Kelly Garba, and Andrea Wagner. We are going to do page 156 to 180, a little bit longer than normal, but I've been wanting to read for a while, so hey. And don't worry, my dogs will be barking at some point in this video. Not like y'all will hear it, but still, you guys will definitely hear the obvious cutout. So yeah, let's get started. This is unreal. Maya looked up and caught her reflection in a neon-bounded mirror-tiled ceiling. Her eyes glowed red in the blazing light. For an instant, Maya shivered. The weird radiance in her eyes made her look like one of the undead from the zombie movie. Maya shook herself and then quickly shifted her gaze. "Didn't I tell you?" Jackson shouted and heard above the blaring 80s rock music that pulsed around him. He brushed back his locks, took a huge bite of pizza, and looked from Maya to the strawberry blonde friend, Noelle, who was gazing in awe at the bright yellow roller coaster track that wove in and out of the luminescent climbing tubes entwined with like snakes throughout the vast expanse beyond the dining area. Noelle, her freckles standing out of the bright lights, reached for her soda. "I have to admit, I thought Mega Pizzaplex was more hype than reality, but this is pretty cool." She sucked through a straw and popped to the music's beat. Her ponytail swung back and forth. "Pretty cool." Jackson dropped his half-eaten pizza slice. "This is beyond cool. I can't wait to try a VR booth." "AR booth first, Jax," Maya said. She looked past the string of zipping go-karts and focused on a glass enclosure near the pizza-themed tilt-a-whirl. Every pot in the ride was shaped like a pizza topping. The large bubble-like booth was the whole reason she wanted to come here tonight. Jackson rolled his eyes. Yeah, birthday girl, it's all about you." He flashed a signature mischievous grin and nudged Noelle, who gave Maya a goofy look. Maya struck an exaggerated glam pose and checked herself in the overhead mirror again, and the psychedelic lights flashing around them. Her long black hair looked like an oil slick reflecting the kaleidoscope. With her head tilted, her eyes no longer appeared red. They were their normal dark brown. She thought that between her dark skin and full features, her red dress, and the red rose tucked behind her ear, she looked a little like a flamenco dancer. Maya returned her attention to her friends. She threw a ball-up napkin at him. "Just because I got to 16 before you two losers is no reason to hate on me." They all laughed. Maya noticed that the bark of her laughter barely made a dent in the clamor around them. The music, loud as it was, competed with so many sounds that it was hard to distinguish them all. Maya could, however, make out the clatter of the roller coaster on the tracks, the hum of the go-karts, the tiny music and pings and bleeps of the arcade games, and buzzing sounds of laser tag. And overlaying it all, the sounds of happy screams and shout and chatter. Maya's sister, Elena, would hate this place. Maya thought affectionately. Elena liked things quiet and peaceful. Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex was the exact opposite of quiet and peaceful. Elena would have hated the bright-colored chaos in the Pizzaplex too, whereas Maya loved vibrant jewel tones. Her sister was all about white and gray and pastels. Maya looked down at her blood-red dress, then shifted her gaze to Jackson's bright orange shirt and Noelle's hot pink blouse. She glanced around. Even her bright clothes were lost in the rainbow-scape of the Pizzaplex. Maya and her friends were squeezed into a corner booth in the main dining area. The room was huge, but it was so stuffed with shiny red laminate-top tables and chrome black chairs that it seemed smaller than it was, especially because every table was filled with various families, kids, and teens chowing down on pizza. Service-clad in red Freddy Fazbear uniform shirts with multicolored glow necklaces looped around their necks could barely squeeze through the aisles as they rushed for the room serving pizzas and drinks. The swinging doors to the kitchen on the far side of the room were in almost constant motion. Everywhere Maya looked, brilliant color and sparkling light beamed and blinked and shimmered. It seemed like everything in the Pizzaplex was spectacularly illuminated. LED lights were everywhere. They formed frames around all the tabletops and the flashy Freddy-themed posters on the walls, and outlined the squares of the black and white checkered floor. Anything not wrapped and highlighted in LEDs was brightened by neon. Glowing archways formed the entrance of the dining area and every other entertainment venue in the Pizzaplex. Alternating with the LED-wrapped Freddy-themed posters, neon art in the shape of Freddy characters and pizza wedges blazed bright in reds, blues, greens, yellows, pinks, purples, and oranges. The mirrored ceiling caught all his light and refracted it, sending prisms of color everywhere. Outside the main dining area, in the center of the Pizzaplex's domed roof, a black lit pizza motif stained glass cupola in the center of the round mall's ceiling beamed with streams even more color down over the constant movement below. Maya thought the effect was like a ballet of every tint she'd ever seen. The whole place seemed to flare and flicker with a constant motion of dazzling bright hues. You know, 16 is just construct, right? Jackson shouted. Maya, noticing Noel's darkening expression, poked Jackson. Are you done eating yet? I want to head over to the AR unit. Jackson glanced at his empty plate. He looked surprised to find it pizzaless. Noelle exhaled, blowing out her upset. She cocked her head and pointed at Jackson. Pizza is a construct, you know, Noelle said. It only exists in your mind. Jackson grinned. Touche, girl. He offered Noelle his fist, and she, having apparently forgiven him for insensitivity, bumped his fist with hers before she stood. Maya, Jackson, and Noelle linked arms as they left a VR booth and stepped into the throngs rushing from one entertainment venue to the next. Noelle squealed when she bumped into an employee wearing a Montgomery Gator costume. A phosphorescent green gator mascot patted Noelle in the head and moved on. Roxanne Wolf is a great character, Jackson gushed. Did you see? Maya tugged on his arm. Yeah, we saw. Hey, I let you drag me into a VR booth, and now it's my turn. Come on, the AR booth is this way. Jackson resisted her. He pointed at a line twisting toward the entrance to the roller coaster. I want to go on the Fast Freddy, Jackson said. It's supposed to have all the latest roller coaster high tech. Jackson pulled a brochure from his pocket. It says here that each car has a touchpad, and you can pick your own music. 5 genres to choose from. There are 28 LED lights programmed to change color throughout the ride. Jackson pointed at the last long lines. And see? It has a moving loading platform. It never comes to a complete stop. He waved the brochure. And it has cameras, some on board and some on the track. Laser triggers, timing devices, and computers record the images and create a video that's synced to whatever music you pick. The video is downloaded and sent to that kiosk. Jackson pointed at the small hut-like structure that was covering the strobe lights. It's all done under a minute, so you can get the ultimate souvenir to go. Now that you would be a great birthday present, don't you think, Maya? Jackson inhaled deeply to refill his lungs. Roller coaster cars careened past overhead. Maya felt a rush of air brush against her face. The screams of the coaster rider hurt her ears. She shook her head. Later. AR booth first. Jackson hung his head. Then he bowed elaborately. Whatever thou sayest, milady. Maya laughed. Jackson's southern accent destroyed his attempt at Old English. Come on, he urged her friends. Noelle and Jackson followed Maya's lead. She shoved them away in the roller coaster entrance and on the paths of the giant swing and bumper cars. At first, Maya hadn't been into the idea of celebrating her birthday at Freddy's Pizzaplex. When Jason had shown her the advertisement for the place, she thought they were so over the top that they were lame. She had to admit that Fazbear Entertainment knew how to make money. Before the Pizzaplex's big opening, the company sold thousands of mini hologram projectors at super discounted prices, and the first thing the projector display of the holographic Glamrock Freddy doing his spiel. Hey kids, you want pizza? Well, Fazbear Entertainment has spared no expense developing the world's most extreme family fun center, Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. At 3 stories tall, it is the flashiest, raddest, rockingest, safest pizzeria in the universe has ever seen. Of course, Freddy and the band are excited to meet you. Utilizing the latest animatronic technology, you can actually party with the stars themselves. So come on, next birthday, let Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex make you a superstar. It's the perfect place to celebrate your sweet 16, Jason had said. Maya had resisted Jason's pitch. Even then, he listed all the entertainment possibilities. Of course they have the stage for animatronics performances, and they had arcade and laser tag, he told her. But they also have a theater, giant swings and slides and climbing tubes and rides, including a dope roller coaster and bumper cars and state-of-the-art electronic-powered go-karts and a sweet carousel. Oh, and carnival games. Maybe I can win you a plush Freddy. Be still my beating heart, Maya had replied. When Maya had kept shaking her head, Jackson had talked even faster. They also have sick VR booths and role-play venues. Oh, and they have an AR unit especially for birthdays. It's a perimeter attraction because Freddy's always put the emphasis on celebrating birthdays. I know what VR is, but what's AR? Maya asked despite herself. Jackson's eye had lit up. He loved explaining things. AR stands for augmented reality. It's a way of crossing the real world and the virtual world. Basically, objects in the real world are enhanced by computer-generated perceptions. The one in the Pizzaplex is supposed to be a really awesome one. It used all sorts of sensory modalities. Visual, auditory, somosensory, olfactory, and even haptic. Haptic, Maya had a question? Haptic means to grab onto something. Basically, the AR unit at the Pizzaplex lets you reach out and grasp things that aren't really there. AR basically plays with reality. The tech can be both constructive and destructive, meaning that it adds things into a physical world or to subtract things. Whereas VR completely replaces reality with simulated one. AR is a mix of real and virtual. The AR unit of the Pizzaplex is called The World Celebrates You. It gives you the illusion that everyone in the Pizzaplex is taking part in celebrating you. Basically, it's like having a massive birthday shindig without all the money and the trouble. It's the ultimate way to spend a birthday. This was what convinced Maya to go for Jackson's idea. Even though she knew her family and all her friends would celebrate her birthday, she knew it wasn't going to be a huge deal. Her family didn't have the money for a shindig like she wanted. It sounded pretty neat to have a whole Pizzaplex full of people partying with Maya on her birthday. So here they were, and she wanted to get her party started. Maya and her friends had been to the Pizzaplex before a few hours already. They had wanted at first, and then they eaten at Jackson's insistence. And then they got into the VR area, again at Jackson's insistence. During this time, Maya had gotten pretty good sense of the place. The Pizzaplex was set up in a circle. In the center of the circle, ramps led down the blacklight enclosure ordered for little kids. The cave-like area was filled with glowing climbing bars, slides, and foam building blocks. All this was set around a glitter ball pit. Padded benches for watchful parents surrounded the area. Above the subterranean area, Grandy's two-story theater rotunda erupted like a fairy tale castle under a stained glass cupola. The rest of the entertainment venues and shops, of course stores in the Pizzaplex, carry Freddy-themed clothing, costumes, souvenirs, and toys. Ring the Pizzaplex. Even between these venues and the theater, a go-kart track crisscrossed over and under the walkways that led from one part of the Pizzaplex to the other. Several VR booths were placed along the walkways, and above everything, the roller coaster tracks intertwined with the climbing tubes. The two system looked like a serpentine modern art installation, or a hovering serpent waiting to devour all the people bustling about beneath it. Maya dragged her friends through the crowd, yanking on Jackson as he tried to veer toward the roleplay area. Her gaze was set on the prize, the AR unit. It was only a few yards away, and it was closed, Maya exclaimed. Maya stopped abruptly as Jackson ran into her. Noelle plowed into Jackson. The two grunted and glared at Maya. Then they looked in the direction of their gaze. The AR unit looked like a giant snow globe, only without the snow. Its base was bright red and the inside the clear. Thick glass, and a throne-like gold upholstered chair that sat in the center of the clear bubble. Flashing neon sign blinked above the spectral glass. The world celebrates you. Neon stars and streamers surround the words. Unfortunately, another sign was attached to the bright yellow tape, similar to the crime scene tape, stretching across the entrance of the AR unit. The sign read, "Closed under construction." Under construction, Maya snapped. How can they make a big deal about a premier attraction and not even finish it before they open? It's false advertising. Maya turned to scowl at Jackson. You said I'd get my big party. Jackson usually animated expression was slack as looked at the closed AR unit. His shoulders slumped. I'm sorry, Maya. I didn't know. Noelle hugged Maya. Come on, it's not that big of a deal, is it? You got us, and she swept her arm out, word to indicate all the commotion in the Pizzaplex. It's not like there's nothing to do. Maya blinked away tears that had come out of nowhere. She felt like a small brat for being upset, but she didn't want to cry in front of her friends. But she also disappointed. She really looked forward to using the AR. Maya lowered the close sign, then set her jaw and took a deep breath. She looked around. No one was paying her any attention to her and her friends. She made up her mind. She rushed forward and ducked under the yellow tape. Noelle gasped, Maya, you can't go in there. Maya stepped over the threshold and looking back at Noelle and Jackson. Looks like I can. Are you coming? Noelle shook her head. She glanced over her shoulder and looked up. Maya followed Noelle's gaze. A huge mirror curved enclosure loomed above the large area marked employees only. The space looked big enough for the house of all the behind-the-scenes offices and machinery that must have been gone into operating, sometimes as elaborate as a Pizzaplex. It was clear the mirrors were two-way, and the elevated enclosure was where security kept an eye on the Pizzaplex, obviously aided by the dozens of CCTV cameras Maya had noticed everywhere she and her friends had been. Maya was sure a bunch of self-important, low-paid employees were playing Big Brother up here. Yeah, they could be watching, but she didn't care. They can come and drag me out if they want, Maya said. I'm going in. Come with me, or don't. Noelle and Jackson exchanged a look. Jackson shrugged. What's the worst they can do? Throw us out? He looked longingly at the roller coaster, then shrugged again. We can always go home and work on our science projects. Noelle blew a raspberry, as if. Maya turned her back on the friends and entered the air booth. She only had a few feet into it before she heard Jackson and Noelle rush behind her. This is cool, Jackson circled the chair and then bent over and examined it. There's a processor under here. He gestured at the glass surrounding them. The glass will be on display that adds what you can see through the dome now. He reached down and picked up the woven-looking headband that had been lying, almost hidden on the chair seat. This looks like a sensory device, see? He held up the headband and indicated a lattice of nodes inside of it. I think this is all augmented your senses to make your experience feel real in every way. I think the way it works is... Whatever, Maya said. She darted to the chair and grabbed the headband. The security had seen them enter the air booth. She didn't have much time. She took the seat. Maya slipped on the headband. She looked around and nothing had changed. Now, how do you turn it on? Maya asked. Jason bent down and fiddled with something. Suddenly, the glass walls of the air booth disappeared. Maya could see it directly out of the huge expanse of the Pizzaplex, and it was filled with birthday balloons, streamers, and piles of birthday presents. It was also filled with hundreds of people blowing noisemakers and cheering. It was everything in the Pizzaplex that stopped to focus on Maya. All the adults and kids in the walkway turned to look at her. All the people in the dining room were gazing her way, her glasses raised. The rides were still in motion, but all the people on them were craning their necks to see Maya zip past and spun around. Patrons and employees alike were smiling toward Maya, as if she was the most important person on the planet. Surprised, they all shouted in unison. Maya felt a thrill of importance as she gazed out at her crowd. Then she teared up again, and she spotted her family. They were all there, her parents and Alina, her Aunt Sophia and her Uncle Raphael, her Aunt Luciana, and her Uncle Peter. She saw all her cousins, even her favorite little Axel. She saw her neighbors. The Davis twins were jumping up and down, waving at Maya. And the Thompsons, 3 kids, held a big happy birthday banner. Even old Mr. and Mrs. Lambert, the grumpy couple who lived across the street from Maya's home, were in the crowd. Mr. Lambert held up a plate of her award-winning coffee cake, grand prize winner at the county fair for 25 years straight, dear. Maya's love of coffee cake was what endeared her to the otherwise curmudgeonly couple. Maya saw her favorite teacher, Mrs. Carpenter, and her minister, Master Ben. She saw her members of her choir and her classmates from school. Everyone was wearing party hats. Everyone looked like Maya's birthday, and it was the happiest day of their lives. As Maya strained to try to pick out all the people she knew, the crowd parted, and Glamrock Cheeker, her bright pink dress shining under the bright lights, skipped into view, heading towards Maya. She pushed a big cart. The cart held a massive 6-tiered birthday cake, frosted in creamy icing and decorated with red candy roses. Maya's favorite flower, 16 huge candles flickering atop the cake. Maya realized she was smiling so widely that her cheeks were starting to hurt, but she smiled even wider when Freddie Band started a boisterous rock version of Happy Birthday, and everyone started singing along. Maya reached out and grabbed Jackson and Noah's hand. See? It wasn't offline after all. Happy birthday, Maya. Noah shrugged Maya and stepped back into Jackson's fall suit. Maya smiled at the cherry scent of Noel's shampoo and smelled Jackson's pizza breath. She understood what the scene in front of her wasn't real. The Pizzaplex could have suddenly transformed into a birthday party of her dreams. All the people she knew didn't just beam magically, and the ones she didn't know were, of course, weren't interrupting their fun to make a big deal of the total stranger, but it felt real. The familiar smells of friends anchored her to what was really real. The combination of real and not real was heady. It spun Maya out of herself into a fantasy of frolic and laughter. At first, it felt like Maya was watching a celebration around her, but as it continued, she was no longer an observer. She was drawn into the party, but just as she would if it was real. After Freddie's band finished the happy birthday, everyone started chanting, "Make a wish, make a wish." Maya grinned and imagined having this moment last forever. Then she blew out her candles. The smoke spiraled upwards as everyone cheered. Maya laughed in delight. Freddie's band started playing one of Maya's favorite rock songs. Jackson grabbed Maya's hand and he spun her into the crowd, then backed up and formed a circle around the makeshift dance floor in the center of the walkway. Jackson and Maya weren't a couple. She thought of him more as a brother than a friend, but the two of them had always danced well together. Jackson had some serious moves and Maya was naturally graceful. As they started popping to the staccato beat of the song, they slid into a series of intricate steps that they had never practiced but had to have looked choreographed into their audience. Maya felt like dancing queen as Jackson whirled her and dipped her and even flipped her over his shoulder. When the song ended, the crowd went wild, and the more couples filled the open space as the new song began. They danced and danced and danced. Maya didn't know how much time had passed when Jackson, sweaty and grinning like a maniac, led her through the crowd to the cake. There, Glamrock Chica handed Maya a gleaming knife, which might have looked scary in other setting, but Maya cut into the second tier of the gorgeous cake. She got the first piece, and she nearly fainted in bliss when her teeth sank into the moist pistachio and buttercream flavored confection, her favorite flavors. Several employees rushed out to help hand out cake. They all hugged or high-fived Maya as they passed her. She didn't know any of them, but they all acted like they'd been longtime friends. The music was still blasting, and crowd was still laughing and dancing and chattering. Maya felt like a little bouncing beach ball as she passed from one group of revelers to the next. She was hugged over and over. She received kisses and pats and love used from all her relatives. Her favorite kiss was from sweet little Axel. The lip smack was wet and sticky from the smear and frosting on his mouth. Time continued to expand and compress in an odd and disorienting way. As Maya suddenly found herself seated near a massive pile of brightly wrapped presents. Her mom, after whispering that Maya's special present from her grandparents would come later as usual, began handing Maya the presents, and she opened them one by one. Most of the presents were wrapped in floral-themed paper. Everyone knew how much she loved flowers. All of the gifts inside the festive packages were things she loved. She received vibrantly colored clothes, stacks of romance novels and books on gardening, sheet music and CDs of her favorite music, makeup and jewelry, stuffed teddy bears, posters and print flowers and cute kittens, scented lotions and soaps and candles, a portable keyboard, a new guitar, and finally, a new laptop and a camera. These were to help her photograph and catalog the flowers she grew, her mom said. The gift opening seemed endless. Maya actually started feeling guilty. She was sure that watching her open present had been boring for everyone else. Whenever she looked up at the people surrounding her, though, they appeared to be enjoying themselves. They were totally attentive. Maya couldn't imagine a more perfect birthday celebration. She wanted it to last forever. Maya, Jackson, and Noel ducked under the tape and looked out at the boisterous group of kids' family enjoying the pizza plex. I can't believe this looked like my birthday party a few seconds ago, Maya said. I told you it'd be great, Jackson beamed as if he designed the AR unit himself. Maya leaned into him. Yes, you did, and you were right. I can't believe we didn't get thrown out of there, Noel said, looking up the security booth. Maya followed Noel's gaze. She frowned. Noel had a point. Surely they had cameras in the AR unit. Someone must have seen them. Maya shrugged. Whatever, I'm just glad I got my big party. Now can we go on the roller coaster, Jackson said. Maya laughed. Yes, let's go on the roller coaster. The friends linked arms again and they headed for the roller coaster line. As they made their way through the crush of happy people, Maya felt like this was more floating than walking. Her virtual or augmented or whatever birthday party was the best birthday celebration she ever had. It wasn't that she didn't appreciate the birthday picnics her family usually organized for her. The potluck affairs were always held in their yard, always, including the basic sheet cake and cheap piñata, but she wanted the kind of party she had in the AR unit. Now she had one. She was a happy girl. I admit that the coaster was flashy looking, Noel said when they queued up for the ride, but I don't see how a 3-story roller coaster can be much fun. It won't get high enough. She gazed up at the roller coaster's apex. It's not like the height makes it thrilling, Jackson said. It's the speed and the loop-de-loops and the other things. What other things, may I ask? You'll see, Jackson said in ominous tones. Mwahaha. Noel rolled her eyes. It can't be that scary, but it was. May and her friends didn't have to wait long before they were the next ones in line for one of the yellow and red striped cars. Coming forward the continuously moving area, the cars were big enough for 3 people and they didn't mind a tight fit. So May and Noel followed Jackson in one of the cars. They pulled the safety bars tightly over the chest and instructed that as soon as the bars clicked into place, the car disappeared into a dark tunnel. Rock and roll, right? Jackson shouted as he reached for the touchpad in front of them. The pad was the only thing lit up in the blackness. Always, Noel said. Throbbing bass notes ushered in screaming guitar riff, and the car picked up speed as it accelerated into a turn. A giant pirate fox suddenly loomed out in front of them, raising a gleaming hook. The fox swiped the sharp steel at their heads, and the car jerked to the left. Maya and Noel screamed. Jackson whooped. The car swung around the tight loop, then shot upward and flipped over, whipping them upside down into another U-turn before suddenly flipping them back over and climbing. From that point on, the ride was a blur for Maya. Every few seconds seemed like another Freddy's character lit up blatantly and larger than life, appeared out of nowhere and scared them silly. After the third jump scare of sharp animatronic teeth spreading toward her face, Maya closed her eyes. From that point, the ride was a mayhem of motion and sound of light flashing behind her eyelids. Thankfully, it was over seemingly fast as it started. When the car slowed, the safety bars released, and Jackson jumped out of the car, Noel clambering after him. Maya brought up the rear, staggering. She was sure had stolen some of her bones. Her legs felt like jellyfish tentacles. Wasn't that the boss? Jackson shouted as he grabbed Maya and Noah's hand. Let's go get our videos. He pulled them toward their little kiosk near the coaster's exit area. A couple minutes later, they had their custom videos. Maya wasn't sure she'd ever look at hers. She didn't want to see a closed-eyed version of herself being terrified at 100 miles per hour, or however fast they'd been going. Jackson had kept smiling at the speeds during the ride, but Maya had ignored them. Now what? Jackson asked. Maya shook her head. Your choice, Jax. She come here tonight for the AR birthday party, and she got in that she didn't really care what they did now. It was 10 after 10 when Maya pushed open the back door to her family's small, bright kitchen. She hung her keys on a peg in a tortoise retro fridge. Her parents was, as she expected them to be, were sitting at the multicolored tile-topped table, sipping hot cocoa, hot chocolate, and playing a game of cards. It was their sometimes free bedtime routine, and Maya suspected it was a good excuse for them to wait up with their teenage daughter to get home. Maya's mom drew a card and smiled at Maya. "Have fun, sweetie?" Maya grinned. "It was great, but even better than Jackson said it would be. You won't believe everything they have there." Maya stopped. She had been about to tell them about the AR unit, but to do that, she would have to tell them about the dream party with everyone she ever wanted a birthday party. She didn't want them to think she didn't appreciate the parties they had for her. "Did you go on the roller coaster?" Maya's dad asked. "I read about it. I bet it was pretty cool." Maya laughed. "He sounded like Jackson." He couldn't stop talking about it. Maya held up a videotape she got at the kiosk. "Here's a video of our ride." You could see me screaming and closing my eyes as tight as I could get them closed. Maya's mother shook her head. "Oh, that sounds like fun." Her words were just dripping with sarcasm. Maya went to her mom and gave her a hug. Laying her cheeks against the top of her mom's head, she closed her eyes, soaked in the smooth softness of her mom's short black curls, peppered with gray. Her mom smelled like jasmine, as always. Maya straightened, then stepped around the table and bent over to give her dad a quick hug. The top of his head wasn't soft. She kept his thinning hair as a buzz cut, which felt like a big burr against Maya's chin. But she didn't care. She loved her dad, and the way he always smelled like ink and toner. Maya let go of her dad and turned to the gas stove, like a fridge. It, too, was turquoise and started to look like a holdover from the 50s. She knew there'd be enough hot chocolate for her left in the pan. She poured it into a mug and joined her parents at the table. She took a sip of the rich chocolate. "Deal me in next round." "Absolutely," said Dad. Maya smiled as she watched her parents finish out their hand for the thousandth time. She watched about how lucky she was to have such great parents. Her mom, dark and petite and pretty, was a great school teacher, but she always had plenty of time to take care of her family. Maya's dad was plain face, creased with smile lines around his eyes and mouth, ran an office supply in the print shop. He worked long hours, but he somehow always made Maya and Lena feel like they were center of the world. He spent time with them every day. As her parents finished her hand and her dad dealt out the cards of her new hand, Maya thought again about the AR unit party. She wasn't sure why it had been so important to have an experience of being a focus of everyone's attention. It wasn't like she was neglected. Maybe it was her parents that were so laid back and nothing ever felt like a huge deal. Sometimes Maya wanted things to be exciting instead of just happy. Maya picked up her cards. For now, though, breathing in an aroma of chocolate in the mug in front of her, gazing at the parents' content faces, she was okay with happy. After a half hour or so of cards, Maya kissed her parents, said goodnight, and headed down the narrow hallway to the bathroom. She took her time in the hall, pausing to gaze at the dozens of framed family photographs that covered the walls. Of course, the photos had been there for years, but the party had reminded Maya of all the people who loved her. She wanted to linger over the images for a few seconds before brushing her teeth. When Maya finally got to her room, she didn't even bother to change into pajamas. She was suddenly wiped out. She just fell back under her twin bed. She hit the mattress in such a big whomp that the belt frame scooted along the wood floor. Lena sat up the other twin bed stuffed into the small room. "What?" In a muted yellow glow of the doomed nightlight. Maya could see Lena's face was crumpled and her curly black hair was in a tangle. "Sorry, Elle," Maya said. "It's just me. Time is it?" Lena rubbed her big brown eyes, ones that just looked like Maya's. Late, Maya hopped off her bed and moved to Lena's bed. "Scoot over." Lena grumbled, but she scooted. Maya cuddled next to her sister and wrapped her in a big hug. Maya savored the soft warmth of her sister's flannel-clad shoulders as she looked around her small bedroom, containing just two beds and one nightstand along with one dresser and a table that served as a desk for both of them. The room had been Maya and Lena's domain for their whole lives. Maya remembered when the room had been painted pink and bedspreads had been white and frilly. Now half the room was painted Maya's favorite color, red, and half the room was painted gray. Maya's bedspread was a rose design, Lena's was pale blue. Maya had thought about all the presents she received at her big birthday party. She smiled. It was a good thing they hadn't been real. How would she have fit all that stuff into this tiny room? Too bad the AR couldn't have conjured up a big house for her and her family. That would just be silly. Maya loved this compact house. Well, that was definitely a chapter, huh? Yeah, it's just a good chapter, honestly. Pretty good. Anyways, hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be polite, be efficient. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Or next time we will be reading 181 to 200. And then after that, 201 to 220. And then 221 to 236. So yeah, hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. And I'll see you guys next time.